I thought, I am a pupil, I am a teacher. Garrett?
Phil Collins was #1 in the charts with A Groovy Kind of Love. The movie Beetlejuice, starring Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder, was packing in the punters at the Coliseum Cinema in Bull Lane. Galway were All-Ireland hurling champions for the second year in a row, and Jack Charlton's Boys in Green were embarking on their qualification campaign for Italia 90. Mr. Toastmaster, Madam President, Toastmasters and guests, good evening. It was September 1988 and I was excited. I was starting big school, second class, on the Burris Road. My mum covered my books in brown paper and it was time for the serious business of two-dimensional shapes. My teacher, Mrs. Marie O'Sullivan, I wonder whatever happened to her. She parked the worst car I'd ever seen on St. Bridget's Hill in readiness for a quick getaway at 3 o'clock. She also used lots of hand cream. The yard was a heaving ocean of denim jackets and duffel coats. At break time, we engaged in conquer fights, which usually concluded with the stronger boy mercilessly ripping conquer and lace from the hand of his injured opponent and then crushing it on the ground with the sole of a Doc Marten boot. A system of barter prevailed. I'll give you a Liverpool Crest sticker for that Stinger bar. How about a packet of burger bites for your Irish homework? A teacher called Mr. McFahey patrolled the corridors with authority, ready to pounce should anyone dare to release a stink bomb. Homework was an hour spent tracing hedgehogs onto grease-proof paper. Art invariably meant the dissection of cornflake boxes. There were no mobile phones and no internet, no Instagram, Snapchat or Twitter. And we went home at 1 o'clock because in Portlaoise, dinner time was 1 o'clock. During my time in primary school, I had many inspirational teachers, but one in particular, Mr. Kieran Brosnan, is somebody that I've now tried to emulate. He was a radical, ahead of his time, someone who realised that kids wanted to talk about WrestleMania just as much as writing, about Guns N' Roses, not just Gaeilge. He was a true inspiration to me. He also devoted hour upon hour of his time to after-school sports, and that's not something you forget. It is an honour for me to return in 2006 to work as a teacher in St. Paul's School where I had been as a pupil. I was working alongside some of my former colleagues, and I can tell you that the classroom is very different when viewed as a teacher, and education has evolved enormously. But the more that changes, the more that stays the same. And I feel that the needs of children in 2019 are really very similar to those of 1988. Laughter, self-esteem, friendship, and love. Yes, it might be a different world. Roll books, chalk, all gone. E-books, interactive whiteboards are in. Teachers use fancy terminology like informal assessment and learning outcomes. But as my recently retired principal, Mr. Sutton, is wont to say, children will never really remember what you taught them, but they will remember how you made them feel. And that's something now that I try to take into my role as a teacher. I try to feel that every child is valuable and that proficiency in camogie carries as much merit as knowledge of long division. I'm not here as an INTO representative to campaign for better pay for teachers, but I have a little quote from John F. Kennedy which I think is interesting. And he said, cynics and skeptics see no harm in deciding to pay a lesser wage to those to whom they entrust the minds of their children than to those to whom they entrust the care of their plumbing. Kind of makes you think, doesn't it? But as I say, I love my job. It brings variety and it brings fun. And I thought I'd conclude with one little quick story to tell you of the laughter we get on a daily basis. I was in a class on teaching practice in Dublin, trying to encourage the children to remember the name of the Roman governor who sentenced Jesus to death. And when no one answered, I said, I'll give you a clue. His initials are PP. To which a child in the front put up his hand and said, I'm not sure if this right, sir, but is it Porrick Pierce? We learn a little every day. I am a pupil, I am a teacher. Thank you.